Okay. All right. So you were here when I did it 2 years ago, but none of the rest of you all were, right? Okay. So basically, in my presentation I did about data migration, I did it without Drupal and with Drupal.
So we need to find what data migration might mean, lots of different things.
Okay, say you have a site that's done in WordPress. Or say you have, for example, the example I'm going to show is a site that you had custom code. That you didn't use a CMS, you just created your own data, and you want to migrate it into a Drupal site.
What if I have a Drupal 7 site that's been created using a certain theme, and we're using a dramatically different look and a dramatically different theme, and trying to figure out whether we somehow try to make a copy of the site and then change the theme, or do we just do something brand new and migrate the data? So is that going to fit into what you're talking about?
A little bit, yes. That's a philosophical question, and I'm going to be talking about the tools that once you decide how you want to do it, the best, not necessarily the best way, but yes. Yeah. So basically, I went into a lot of detail 2 years ago about what I did, and so I don't want to go through all that again. This is a link to it right here. And I watched it this morning, and I did a pretty awesome job. So, and quite honestly, with 8.5 coming out 2 days ago, the game has changed, and I've spent literally most of today going through a bunch of different things, trying to decide what to present. And what I've determined is it could be a weeks-long course just on migration and the new tools. So rather than giving myself anxiety and stress over how to present this, I'm going to do a couple of examples of how I've done a few things. We'll talk about what maybe the best way is, some real-world examples that I've done and what I ended up doing. And I just want to show you what the new functionality does. And we probably will not take the whole time, so then we can get over and you can see the other one, because there's other good information that's going on. Because there is so much, I don't want to try to do a fire hose, because if I tried to do that in 1 hour, it would be a fire hose. So I'm going to take my jacket off. So I want to tell you why I'm wearing this t-shirt. And we were talking about doing the Drupal camp. Katria was talking, and Rebecca were talking about, we need to wear nerd shirts. And they're talking about all these nerd shirts. Well, they were talking about the Drupal Camp Utah that's on May 4th, because you know it's May 4th. But I got my nerd shirt. So there is no cloud. It's just someone else's computer. So, all right, here we go. So remind me your name, Sean. Sean knows I wear 2 different hats in my life, and I have 2 full-time jobs. I work here at BYU. I've been here for almost 28 years. I also work for the Ormals. I'm assistant general manager of the Ormals baseball team. And a lot of what I've done with Drupal stems from the work that I do at the Owls, creating our operation system that we use out there. And that's kind of how I got started doing Drupal. I went to Sherwin. I wasn't on his team at the time. I said, I need to do this. How would you do it? And he said, I'd do it in Drupal. This was when Drupal 7 had just come out. So I had a site that I had created. I did dynamic web design, and so I created my own basic CMS, but had all this data, all this content in there that I needed to go and put into Drupal. So I used custom scripts using the hooks that are built into Drupal. And I talk a lot about that in the video presentation, so I don't want to go into a lot of the mechanics of that. I just want to show you how amazing it works. Because what I've learned, and I'm jumping ahead of myself, what I've learned today in looking through all this new stuff and playing around with this is, if you have something that you want to go to Drupal 8 with, go to 7 first. Get it to 7 first, and then the new release of the Migrate module is amazing, and I'm going to show you that. So there's so many things, and I started creating a resource list. But Google, just do Drupal migrate, There's Drupalize Me has a bunch of tutorials on there. Quite honestly, when I have something like this, I Google and I look and I find step-by-step things. There's so much information out there, much better than what I could tell you, and that's what I would follow. So first, have any of you used the hooks or anything with the Drupal stuff? Basically, there's two commands. No, we don't want select. We want this one. Don't like how it changed everything. So there's a set of libraries in Drupal that do amazing things when it comes to creating content. The example I'm going to show you, I had over 2,000 pieces of content that I needed to import into this new database. It's basically my seating chart. So I have 9 sections. I have sometimes A through K rows, up to 24 seats in it. So you do the math, how many seats I had that I just needed to create as a Drupal content type. So right here, I don't know if you can see that very well. Basically, I'm using the node.pages, that set of libraries right there. And I require it, and it gives me access to everything. I'm creating a new node, and I'm setting up, because I know what my fields are in my content type. And I'm pulling from a database, creating that data there, pulling it in, setting it in here, and then I'm saving a node. So I know my database, I know my data, I just have to map it to my content type. So if I pull up this website, this one, maybe. Okay. So right now, this is just the latest version of 7. There's nothing in it other than I've gone in and I have created a content type called seat. So when you're going in version 7, there's a lot of manual things you have to do. You have to make sure your content types are created, whether you're using a script or whether you're using the modules that they have for Drupal to Drupal, which I'll also show you real quick. You have to have all your content types created before you do anything. So I have this little page right here I call ad hoc. And all it is PHP code that pulls in that script that I was showing you before. So I'm going to say, okay, run this. And I want my page to be create seat. Cross our fingers. And there it just created all my content. If I go into content now, there's all my content there. And like I said, there's like 2,700 pieces nodes that it just created for me.
And that's a way to do that, like custom module or something.
You can most certainly do that. Really, and if you watch the video, you'll hear me say, and Sherwin was my boss. You guys don't know who Sherwin is. He was in the room at the time. Like Sherwin will say, do it as a module. But he also admitted in that session, because I listened to it earlier, that for quick and dirty stuff like this, I might to do it this way. Because I'm not doing direct database inserts. A lot of people will try to do direct database, create their content in the nodes by inserting rows into the database. That'll screw up your Drupal site. But because I'm using those hooks, and I'm doing the node load and the node save, it's following the rules of Drupal as if I were going through and creating those pieces of content one by one. I'm just doing it systematically because I don't want to do it 2,700 times. Okay?
Can you show us how to get it out?
How to get it out of what?
From I guess you could do it.
From 7 to 8?
How you got the data? I've got to get data out of 7. Put it into a new.
So okay, so you're saying from 7, like from a Drupal 7 to a Drupal 7? There's a yeah. Okay. Do you want me to show you in 7 or do you want me to show you in 8? Yep. Let's pull up my 8 site. Okay. Clean Drupal 8. This came out 2 days, this released 2 days ago. There's no content, there's nothing in here. This time, instead of doing my little ad hoc thing that's I think is ingenious, I'm going to go to upgrade. Okay. All right. So I say, okay, continue. Am I coming from a Drupal 6 or a Drupal 7? I'm coming from a Drupal 7. And my database name is Drupal 7 demo. It's the one that I just pulled all that data in. Put my username, my password, any advanced options if I had done a prefix, anything like that. If I'm pulling files over, and I'm going to do a second example where it's pulling files as well. Now, I want to show you one thing before I do this. Let me pull it up in another window. 8. This is what was my aha moment today that I went, oh, thank you. If I go to structure and I go to content, all that's there is article and basic page. You don't see a seat type there, do you? Okay. Now, let's go ahead and let's review my upgrade. It's going to go out and make sure that the database I pointed to is correct. It says, okay, wait, you've got these modules that you used in Drupal 7. I'm not going to upgrade them in Drupal 8. For a complex site, you're going to need to go through those. This is very simple, so I'm not going to worry about those because there are certain ones you don't have to worry about that Drupal 8 doesn't need anymore, obviously. So, but you're going to want to go through all of yours to make sure you've got what you're going to need. Okay? And here we go. Or 63%. Wait for it. Wait for it. Just takes me. Oh, look at that. Boom. Okay. All right. Now, let's go back to this one. And I'm going to refresh this page. Boom, look at that. There's a seat content type. If I go to my content, there's all my content. Yeah, I mean, do you not understand how cool that is? It created the content type. Now, obviously, it was a very basic one. I haven't tried it with one that has field collections and things like that, but I have a feeling it's going to work. Yeah, yeah. But to get your content created and your content type, because I mean, this is a content type that had 3 fields on it. I have a content type that has this many fields on it, and that has several that I use for when I create our scripts, and I keep track of all of my accounts that Al's and stuff. Those are all different content types that have one of them has like 30 fields, and so okay, I gotta do this, and I gotta have it created it for me, and to me that was exciting. I mean, and it was like 2,700. Okay. That's what I'll show you next. So let's do this. I'm going to go in and I'm going to set my database back. I'm going to just get rid of everything that I just pulled into there. My demo. I'm just going to, just because I want it to be clean. That's the one thing that in everything that I've been reading, that's the one thing it also says is start with a clean, just a clean vanilla instance of your Drupal 8. Okay, so let's get rid of all those. Then import. It recommends you have the modules, like, so if you have this module enabled in 7, make sure, and there's a subsequent one in 8, make sure it's enabled and ready to go. There's a whole checklist, and I'm going to show you. Right, right. Okay, so now we're back to just a vanilla one. So now I'm going to go to that same page. First, let me show you the site that I'm gonna pull over. I do a website for the owner of the Owls for his business, and it's basically he does commercial real estate. So this is the portfolio, and it has, if you go look at the content types, It has a property content type, and there's a bunch of different things that it does. But each of these have an image that's attached to it. Okay, so now let's go back to this, and I'm going to go back to, I think it's interesting that they have upgrade rather than migrate. Because even if, I thought that was weird. Maybe that's just me. Okay, so this, and to go to it, it's called upgrade. So now I want to use the database for that one. Yeah. Right. Okay, so now you see down here, we have source files. So it wants me to say, okay, this is where those files are. So I'm going to come over here. Whoops. Where am I? Sorry. I want to make sure I have this right path. So here I can, it's the full path. Okay. So there, I've put all that in. I'm going to review my upgrade. Source, oh, what? That does. JD Market 7. See, I got, where did my database go? Oh, I got in a bad habit of doing prefixes. That's why it wasn't finding it. Phew. Okay, so now this one has a lot more modules. Well, you don't need CK editor module anymore because it's built in, right? Views is built in, all these different things you don't have to do. So I know because I've gone through this list that I'm going to be okay. So I'm going to go ahead and perform the upgrade.
Well, what you should do is go through, do that, figure out what modules you install those.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
And then back through it, not necessarily show.
Yes. Exactly. Okay, so now I go to my content, and there they all are. And are the pictures with them? There's the pictures, the images that it brought over.
So now all that's left for you is that.
Exactly. All this is bringing over is your content.
So it's not bringing.
Yes, it is. If you look here, it created the menus. Menus of content.
There, you just have to do that after.
Yeah, and do the underlying backend stuff for things. I think that's pretty cool because I was trying to. I have a site that I'm working on that is the BYU gallery, and all it is images. So I was trying to pull it into Drupal 7, just into Drupal 7, and I couldn't get the images to pull. I was getting error after error after error. I was pulling. I probably spent 3 days trying to figure out to get this migrate to work and pull those files over. And I finally just said, I got to walk away from this, and I haven't gone back to the project. Joanne just said, so how's the project going? Well, I haven't gone back to it. So when I did this and it worked, it was one of those, again, so a new release of Drupal that actually added some benefit I was very excited about. Yeah. Questions so far? Yes.
If I want to do this
Because it's not Drupal at all. Ooh. From my experience and from just playing around with this today, because it's so slick going from 7 to 8 now. All the hooks are different. I don't know that node load, node save work anymore in Drupal 8. because the whole modules, everything, Drupal 8 is a whole new animal. And so I have some that I have to move to Drupal 8. I have a WordPress site that I have to do. I'm going to use my little script thing, create that content in Drupal 7, and then move it to Drupal 8. I did another WordPress site, but it only had 3 pages, so I just cut and pasted. But if you have a lot of content, just because this is so slick now, and that's what I would do. So, you had asked another question. You on the front row.
I asked about this data out of Drupal 7, one Drupal 7. So when you take the data out, what when you extract it out so that you can import it into another site, what format do you think is the best?
Just a database. If you're going Drupal 7 to Drupal 7.
It's just database to database, and it's doing all the work for you.
You can just spin up a new site and then say, look at the database, and you're not recreating anything because it's the same. So it really depends on what you're trying to accomplish.
Well, the database has all sorts of stuff in it that you don't really want to have.
You're the one that you're coming from?
It's not really all.
It's just bringing your content.
What I guess, right? For example, okay, maybe not. I'll keep thinking.
Yeah, keep thinking. Migrating a site itself, your modules and your code and all that, that's a whole nother animal. And in fact, that's what Sherwin, I think, is talking about right now, is using Git and how we move our Drupal instances from one server to another, from development to production and that type of thing. But as far as your content, you don't need to extract it out of your Drupal site into a format and then import it in. It's basically taking it, it's just a database call, and it's talking to it and pulling it in.
I'm just trying to decide if in the doing of this, we have to change some things about the actual data. Because what we had, what we needed, given the old site, maybe we don't need all the data in exactly the same form. We have to massage it in some way.
Yes, okay. In that case, and I have an exact example of that, I keep a database of all of our former players. And right now it's in a Drupal 7 site, but I have a record for every player. Well, if a player comes back another year, which in our circumstance doesn't usually happen, but now it's starting to happen more. So I have them in there multiple times. Well, that's not very efficient. So as I've gotten to know Drupal more, I'm like, okay, I need to have a content, and then I just need to have different contents of their data and things like that. And I'm using field collections and things like that. So I need to, and I also, in the same time, I want to move it to Drupal 8. I've been writing my scripts to take the data out of Drupal in the format that it is, changing it to the new structure that I'm moving it to. And once I get that in place, then I'll use these tools to move it to 8.
And when you change it to the structure you do it to, where do you put it?
I put it right into Drupal using that script I showed you. All I'm doing right here is my database call. I'm selecting. In fact, I'll show you. This is the script I'm doing right here.
To be quite honest, my vision is not even good enough to read.
Oh, well, you can see all this is PSP and SQL and pulling my data in, massaging it, getting my fields set. Then I go up and I create it into my content type and put it out. So it's not like I'm taking that data and sticking it somewhere. It's in the cloud.
Yeah, okay.
It's coming across the network, and it's then going into the new site. Does that make sense? It's sticking it right in and creating that node as the new content type.
I wish I could see all that. So are you doing that? You talked about using Drupal features to do that. Certainly to create the nodes.
I'm also using node load to get the old node, and then to be able to access the fields that way.
You just mentioned using SQL too, so I'm just not going to.
Yeah, because there's somewhere because I have a lot of taxonomies and things like that. There's some weird things that you need to do if you're dealing with taxonomies that don't come over. But there's more and more hooks in Drupal 7 that I've been finding. Things that I was doing manually, I'm like, oh, I can go out and do that instead. I've gone back and I've fixed a lot of my code to use the Drupal things instead of going directly against the database.
And the way that you open up, get a connection to this database from the source and open it up to the new database, that's a Drupal call of some kind that you can make a new piece of code.
Yes.
Okay. So
It's okay.
I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. Yeah. You had your
That's going into 7.
right.
I'm wondering on your migration to 8, if you're wanting to customize, like change the name of your content type. How do you go about doing that?
That's a question I do not know. Yeah.
Probably have to do your own custom.
Yeah.
Like this.
Probably. But there is another one that you can actually map it out. And for the life of me today, I could not find the module when I was setting up these sample sites. But there is a module where you can actually map it out and say, okay, this content type goes to this content type. And it's like it's left my brain and I can't find it. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Like I said at the beginning, there is so much, but in a nutshell, for quick and dirty, this is what you can do.
Well, I know in 7 there was a migrate module as well as that migrate UI module and maybe one more migrate module. And I think what you're talking about, the mapping is one of those 3.
But I have them all installed and it's not there.
Well, that's because it's moved to Drupal 8 and Drupal 8 incorporated.
No, I'm in 7.
Oh, yeah.
I have them all there and I can't find the mapping thing. See, I have my Drupal to Drupal. I have the UI, everything.
The migrate UI was the one I was thinking of. I thought that one allowed you to map it from one thing to another. But
See, here's the import from Drupal, which looks the same as the 8 one. Here, let's see something here. Yeah, we'll use that one. So this is a little slightly different. The Drupal to Drupal, it asks if you want to do the roles, if you want to do your taxonomies. This is the files one that I could never get to work. This one is just your types, what you're bringing in, but that's not the mapping one. It's beyond me. Okay, so I'm not crazy because I have mapped them out. I believe you're right. So
that basically be to change the content types and data to a different format.
Yeah.
Use it for that.
Yeah, and you know what? If I find it, I will post it on the Drupal thing because like I said, for the life of me, I cannot find it.
I asked if we moved sites from 6. The default in 6 was story. So I moved to 7 and it kept story. And now I'm really vague. I don't want to use story anymore. I want to go back to the default article. I want to load in the article, not in the story. And when I go through the process.
Yeah.
You can make a copy of the database and try to go into it.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't, then
Just don't tell anyone that you did it. I'm not going to lie. I've made changes directly to the database before, but it's not best practice.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying if you can't find another way, don't.
Hack it till it works, right? But if you guys want to kick me an email, julie@byu.edu, so I know who's interested. When I find that, I'll kick it back to you because it's driving me nuts that I can't find it. Yeah.
So in an effort to apply everything, you might basically on our current website and apply everything, fix everything that broke, added landing pages, etc. And that gap between when I cloned it to now, I haven't gotten any of the new content. Is there a way I can just say select star from the database where any new content is generated since the state and then import it into the data? was.
From what I've been reading, yes. Yeah, and let me show you. This is to 8?
Well, this is right now I'm on 7. Once that's done, then my next task is to 8. So really, I just want to know: is there a way I can select a gap or a
Right.
period and grab all content?
So one thing I was looking at. Oh, and by the way, there's also a module. The tools is to be able to do this stuff from command line and roll back and everything. There's all these different documents here and they all talk about being able to do it, you know, saying bring it in from here. And the one where you can do the mapping, I can see it right now. I can roll it back and I can roll back just this portion of it. I can bring in this set. I know you can do it. It's just the DrupalModules.org site wouldn't come up, and that's where I usually find things. I couldn't get it to come up. Any other questions? I said this would that I was going to be as quick as I could because there's just too much to really cover more. Any other questions? I love moving the data. This is what is fun with me. I like watching it, and I like I said, go watch that video, and I talk a little bit more about doing it, and to see the progress that Drupal has made, and for this new release, especially for 8, because that's been my biggest drawback of not moving all my sites to 8, is that there wasn't a clean way to move my content. So it's pretty cool. All right. Thank you. And I guess Katria's got some good prizes that they're giving away, so. Oh, I'm still alive. Oh, you're welcome. And don't forget, there is no cloud. It's just someone else's computer.
You know, Julie, sometimes I wish that I could just spend a day with somebody.